My name's Aaron, welcome back to my channel. How are you? I'm fantastic and I'm doing really well. And today I am reviewing Oud Wood PARFUM. This is £330 for 50 ml. I have lots to say about this, so let's just get through the marketing. The amplified fragrance masterpiece smoulders with prized sandalwood, vetiver, oud notes, and a flash of warm spices, oud notes. The fragrance reveals astounding facets of the iconic oud ingredient, natural essence of invigorating cardamom and patchouli, bow to a rich blend of prized woods, warmed by seductive vanilla tonka bean facets and glowing amber resins. Do we have a bottles of Oud Wood PARFUM? Are we engaged with the higher self? Let's get testing. I have so much to say about this and I've been thinking how I'm going to communicate all these thoughts quite quickly, so this video doesn't go on and on and on. Just so you know, the next video that I'm going to review after this one is comparing and contrasting Oud Wood and the Eau de Parfum and the PARFUM together. And I really want to get this one out because it's £330 for 50 ml. And for that amount of money, I'm going to be really honest with you, I want exquisite raw materials. I want verified oud. I want to see somewhere along the lines that for £330 that you've got proof that it contains oud and what concentration of oud as well. Oud is a very expensive raw material. It's one of the most expensive raw materials available to perfumers. It's very difficult to go through the process of getting it. And it's very time consuming, like all sort of absolutes. You know, rose takes thousands of petals and tuberose has quite a long process to get you the raw material. Oud takes a long time. And I've spoken about this before. I'll just tell you quickly the difference between the oud which I use, which is very smooth, resinous, and sort of quite soft and very slightly sweet, and oud which smells fecal or animalistic, is when they are distilling it, they have a period of letting the oud sit around in the water. And if it's without oxygen, so it's devoid of oxygen when it's sort of fermenting with the bacteria, you get a non-fecal variety. When the bacteria is allowed to have the oxygen and it's breaking it all down, you get sulfurous compounds, and the sulfurous compounds give you that sort of fecal animalistic feel to it. I've never really liked that type of oud. I think it's not really wearable in my opinion, but some people really like it. The difference in sort of cost wise is when you're doing anaerobic, it takes a lot more manpower and it's a bit more specialized equipment. If they just leave the cylinder open for the air to get to it, it's a lot cheaper. So there's a difference in the cost as well. So I thought I'd put that out there. Oud is a definite resonance to it, and I would always suggest you get good quality oud. Anyhow, let's get into the testing. Let's have a look at the atomizer. It's okay, but I'm thinking in my head, this is £330. One thing I wanted to say, more cheese made for you, is that apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I have been told. You know what FragCon's like now with all these sort of different things, is that this was the original Oud Wood that was released when it first got released, and then subsequent formulations, reformulations, all the rest of it is what we have now. And there is I can't remember what it's called, the Oud Wood Extract, or the Oud, there was another one, I can't remember, which I didn't like. And I always said, I think it's a really beautiful formula, but if they were going to do a stronger version, I just would have taken the original formula and condensed it and amped it up slightly. That's how I would do it. I wouldn't change it because I think it's a very beautiful formula. And I can't remember what it was, the Extract or the one I reviewed a while ago, just really didn't do it for me. I thought it was not very nice, and subsequently they stopped selling it. So let's get on with the fragrance. I have worn this actually, so I wanted to give you a really honest review that comes from me wearing it, and also my first impressions as well, because I really want to do this justice. So first off, what I'm going to say is I really love it. And I think if you love the original Oud Wood, you're going to love this. There are similarities and there's also differences. One thing I wanted to say as well, within the formula works because it's smooth. And the smoothness comes from lily of the valley raw materials and muscanone, those sort of natural musks based upon ethylene brassylate. That in itself gives this smoothness, and that is what's giving it that instant, oh my god, I love it, that smooth, soft silkiness to it, based upon ISO Super, to give you that continued velvety, smooth feel to the formula. It's just so smooth. Now, what I want to say about that smoothness is, it is almost impossible to have insane radiance against smoothness. And this is, I think, with perfumery, what's really hard. I think it's almost impossible to get radiance where it's out the room, masses of sillage, to smooth radiance, because you're constantly at that sort of corner of working against projection, sillage, and smoothness. And sometimes you've got to think, what am I trying to achieve? What's sticking to the brief? And sometimes if you give too much radiance by altering the formula, you remove the smoothness from the formula. And what is beautiful about this formula is that it's giving you smoothness, velvetiness, softness. This has vanillin, coumarin, heliotrope. That is adding at trace amounts at the base of the formula smoothness. Vanillin can act as a smoothing raw material and also a fixative a little bit, but those give it really sort of subliminal sweetness to the formula. So this formula is giving you smoothness, slight amount of sweetness. The cleanliness is coming from the lily of the valley raw materials. The way that this formula has the linalool compounds, ethyl linalool acetate compounds, is given that lift, but it's not particularly vibrant, and that's sort of what I'm going to say. Patchouli, a little bit of smokiness, and cardamom is giving that sort of slight spice to it. Cyprol having to add the sort of the oud feel. Onto my final thoughts. I love it. I think it's a really beautiful formula. I'm going to put it out there. I think that it is. It's really difficult for me to know how to measure to it, because the longevity on this is really superb. So this just goes on and on. The smoothness I love. The slight sweetness, not with ethyl maltol, is really beautiful. This is just, I think, really simplistic, great perfumery. You know, they're dealing with top note musk, hevetalide, the linalool compounds, ethyl linalool acetate, which is sort of slightly sweeter. I prefer ethyl linalool personally. So some compounds to give sort of further richness and smoothness to the formula. But £330, I would have loved a little bit more lift to it, just a little bit more lift. To me, it's very base heavy, and it's, I think in the original Oud Wood PARFUM, and I'm going to compare the two shortly, but in the original Oud Wood PARFUM, there was lift to it, but the longevity was like dreadful for the amount of money. And we're talking about a lot of money, so I kind of would love to have a little bit more lift to it. I love the cashmeran and the cephalus as well, increasing that sort of like oud feel. It's a very classically put together formula, and I kind of really love it. And I'm sort of thinking about the sort of price and the mark, and I'm kind of thinking, and I've been thinking all morning about it, and I'm thinking, I really don't know quite where to mark it, because it's quite a difficult one for me, because I love the formula. I personally, because Tom Ford have thousands of perfumers there and they have the budget, I would have loved a little bit more radiance. And there are ways to do it. You could have increased the radiance of it whilst keeping true to the formula. But I love it. I think it's very eloquent smelling. I think it smells very smooth, round. And I hope sort of explaining about sort of a bit of the chemistry behind it, you sort of understand why it's quite difficult. Because when you're dealing with the percentages where they are, the musk choice, you're getting this beautiful smoothness and softness and eloquence, but you're not going to get radiance. And I kind of think that for £330, I would love to see a little bit more radiance. The price is kind of up there. This is what I'm going to say about the price. I think for this amount of money, I do it, and I'm a tiny company, I would love to see the companies verifying the oud use. There's different ways to do that, and verifying the quantitative amount of oud in the formula. I really want to see companies doing that for this amount of money. I think it's fair as a consumer, and I think it's where I'd love to see a bit more honesty. Also as well, I hate the packaging, it's plastic. We really need to move to glass, we really need to move to metal. We need to stop using plastic, we need to look after our environment. So I'm going to take off a few marks because the price without verification I think is high. I want to see verification. I want to see companies becoming a bit more transparent and a bit more honest. For £330, I would love a little bit more radiance to it. And the packaging's a bit, you know, by this point, I mean, come on, we need to do better. So I'm going to mark it an 8 out of 10. If the price was lower, or if it was verified with the amount of oud and showed that it had oud in by an independent laboratory, and the price was that high, let's say it had 5% oud and it was £330, that'd be fine. But because of where it sits, I'm going to mark it an 8 out of 10. So if you love that review, thumbs up and subscribe for more fascinating, interesting content, lots of moving hands and lots of fragrance views. Hope you're staying safe and well. See you soon.